And welcome in everybody to another episode of the High Low Sports Podcast. We appreciate y'all so much for joining us here on this Wednesday evening, or what happens to be later on in the week, one of your favorite places to catch podcasts. As we start the month of June, the May flowers are officially ended as we are heading into the deep depths of summer. Is DJ joined as always by my co-host Kelcey as we get ready for the long drudge of the summertime, where it is baseball just until the All-Star break, the NBA Finals, and then speculation season. So it's a fun time, even if on paper, some people like to call it the dead season in sports, but for us, it's kind of the fun time where the imaginations can run wild.
Yeah, and also just throwing it out there is Stanley Cup Finals started tonight, or last night, sorry. No, tonight, my bad. And then also, we're coming up on the Summer of Soccer 2025, which Gold Cup, Confederation Club Competition, Club World Cup, and all of that to prepare us for the World Cup next year. So it's a fun time in the summer. I love the summertime for sports because it's my favorite sports happening. And football, I don't have to be angry on Sundays.
No, now you just get to be angry at other football throughout the rest of the week, basically. It's the summer of football.
Exactly. The summer of football.
Absolutely. We'll definitely be diving deep into that throughout the summer as we get going as well. Not as much today. We got a little bit of American football and a lot of basketball and many other things to talk about today. But let's go and just get right into the first part of our show. That is the tip-off, brought to our good friends over at SeatGeek. Use code BUBSports for $20 off your first purchase for whatever tickets you might need. Comedy show, sporting event, music, concert, whatever it might be. Get yourself $20 off your first set of tickets. And the kind of surprising, not surprising, but at the same time, what the heck move of the week? Tom Thibodeau is out of the Big Apple in New York for the Knicks, firing the head coach a few days after they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals in 6 games nonetheless. It's not like it was a sweep. A coach of the year in New York 4 years ago, give or take, led them to back-to-back 50-win seasons for the first time since more than half of our viewers were probably born. That was since it predated 2000, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was 1999, or actually it might have been 94. But the first time in the Eastern Conference Finals since 1999. I'm surprised about this move. I know there was a lot of rumors about it. I know a lot of them were like, he doesn't play his bench, get him out of there. All the rumors. But considering what they did and how they got there, and the fact that realistically, you could point to that game one where Tyrese Haliburton and, well, first of all, Naismith turned into the sharpest sniper in all of the land and could not miss in the fourth quarter. Then Haliburton with that running backwards fadeaway NBA 2K21 3 that was a 2 with his playmaking shot creator archetype just drains that. Even the bounce, it touches the top of Madison Square Garden and falls back in. A lot of things played out in a very awkward way where I feel like he should have got another year, honestly. I feel like he should have at least been given one more year with just some of the touching points of like, play this bench a little bit more often. Don't wait till the final minute. Give them time. Maybe you look to add another player or two in the offseason. Give the Villanova guys and Cat and a little bit of time. Like, I don't know. I feel like he should have got one more year. With everything he's done, you give him one more year.
I mean, copy and paste the previous reasons for his firings before this to this again. He previously got fired from the Bulls because they quote unquote needed a new voice. By the way, he also led them to successful seasons, multiple seasons in a row, and then was fired after a poor performance back to back where he did not play his bench and he was not giving his superstars time. Let's fast forward to the Timberwolves and the fiasco that was the Timberwolves. Everybody remembers Jimmy Butler during that situation. That was under Tibbs. He was also fired from the Timberwolves despite leading them to their first ever playoff run in 14 years because he was not playing his bench. And the next season they regressed, and guess what? There he goes. Bye. Also, the whole thing with Jimmy Butler really set him out to go and out to pasture. And here we are again with the Knicks. Copy, paste, repeat, copy, paste, repeat. It's like the guy doesn't learn from his past mistakes. He still is a fantastic defensive coach. Unfortunately, he doesn't trust players that don't play defense. If they don't play defense, he doesn't play them. With the exception of Cat, he played Cat nonstop because, well, there was nobody else down there to play that can give the offense Cat. He undeniably can give time to people who score. But
and Jalen Brunson, since that's the only guy who could dribble the ball consistently.
Exactly. Look, Josh Hart, what does Josh Hart do? He gives you 20 and 10, and he plays great defense. Mikal Bridges, what does he do? Well, if he fixed his shot, he'd give you 20 and 10 and plays great defense.
When he's on, he'll give you 25.
Yeah. Mitchell can play good defense. Won't probably give you 20 a night, but he'll give you 10 rebounds. And look, he has a mentality, he has a mantra, and it's no surprise that yet again it continues to fail when it comes to the playoffs, because by this point they played the regular season plus now to the Eastern Conference Finals every single game as long as they were healthy, which thankfully for Brunson and Cat, they did get a couple breaks throughout the season due to nagging injuries, and thankfully nothing major. They were actually able to get a break. But this happens every time Tibbs has a good team. He runs them to death. And I don't mean like runs them in practice. He runs them to death when it comes to playing. He doesn't do this. And look, I'm not a big fan of resting players during the regular season, but resting them throughout the game when you're up by 20, 30, 40 points, that's a great option. When you're not doing that, that's a problem. And especially some of the games they won this season, they had a few blowouts that were done in the third quarter, and these guys were still playing in the fourth. And while, yeah, cool, it sounds great, looks great to see your players out there playing hard, in the fourth quarter up by 40, I don't need to see Jalen Brunson and Cat out there. And this is just, it's a microcosm, but it's also just goes to show you the dysfunction in the Knicks organization where they have this great run and then, oh, yeah, no, bye. And this is all New York sports. This isn't the first time I've seen a New York sports team do this. This isn't the last time I'll see a New York sports team do this. And this isn't the last time I've gotten mad about a New York sports team doing this. But I won't actually put this all on the Knicks. I do think there's some of this still goes to Tibbs because, as I said, he's a great defensive coach, but he has not learned from the past mistakes where he just continues to do the same things. If not worse, he ran an 8-man rotation this year? That's not good in the NBA. And it got even shorter when you got to the finals or to the playoffs. You were 6, maybe 7? That's not
like
good.
7, then he got to the Pacers. Then due to necessity and Cat's inability to not stick his hands in the cookie jar, it turned into a 9-man rotation real quick.
And they weren't ready. They weren't healthy. They were not prepared. They weren't even in game shape. And that's the thing. Like, if you don't play your bench, they're not going to be in game shape when you need them. Anybody who's played any sort of sports video game that has any sort of developmental franchise, they tell you to play your bench players so that way they're ready when it comes time. There's a reason that's in a video game. It's because it applies to real life as well. And when you don't do it, this is what happens. You can't do this at the highest level of the game and not expect it to have bad repercussions. Like, it's partially on Tibbs. I'd say it's 60%, 70% on Tibbs, 30%, 40% on the Knicks organization, though. I have a hard time just letting them off the hook because it's still the Knicks organization and they're overreacting about everything.
It's interesting. If you would have told them even a month ago, hey, you're going to beat the Celtics in a playoff series, but we're going to fire Thibodeau, you would have been like, what? No. Yeah. Like, they would not have accepted that because the Celtics was what they quote unquote built the team to beat. That was like what Minnesota did to beat Denver. That's pretty much what the entire last offseason, the trade for Cat, bringing in Mikal Bridges, they were built to beat the Celtics because you have to get over that demon. We just didn't expect that Tyrese, the Winter Soldier, Halliburton, and the Pacers were going to come out of nowhere and play a completely different opposite style that threw everything for a loop. And you, like we mentioned earlier, you lost by that freakish fourth quarter in game 1. The skin of your teeth, you weren't getting clapped the whole time. It's not like you were uncompetitive. The one uncompetitive game you won by 1 billion. Like, that's why I thought it was very interesting. So I don't know if I still think he should have got one more year. Like he said, he's not without his own faults, but at the same time, it's like, okay, the best stretch of 2 years we've had since I was born. And in case you can't see the gray in the bottom beard here, that was a long time ago. That's not recent. So I feel like at that point, just for getting to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time this century, you get one more year at that. And it's in the GM and you have the conversation like, look, you keep doing this. We're going to do things a little bit differently. You can walk if you want, but we got to do things a little bit differently, try and get over the hump. Or at the same time, it's like, you know what? You saw how the bench worked there. They were okay in that limited action. Imagine you played them more. It feels like if you try and break, you're really good to try and get great. You better hope you pull a Celtics from a couple of years ago when they fired Udoka and ended up with Joe Mazzulla, who, well, that was one magical run. We see now the issue with shooting 97 threes a game, but for that year it worked. So maybe they could pull one of those out of their hat. But the transition period now comes. Who do they bring in to replace Thibodeau? That's where we're kind of at the crossroads because I look at the candidates. I'm not 100% sure. Is there anyone out there that stands out to you, Max? I had a couple ideas, but I'm curious what you have.
I think the obvious one here is the coach that I was surprised got fired going into the playoffs, which is Mike Malone. I don't know if that necessarily is the case, but he definitely seems the most likely. Also float a name out here. I don't know if he signed with the new college team. I don't think he has, but I think Jay Wright moving up from college to the pros might be a very interesting thing. And he's a guy who's from that area, from the Atlantic coast, from the New York, New Jersey area, coached Villanova.
Coaching all of his boys again, basically.
Yeah, him and Cat had a great relationship. You know, it's somebody that if he moved to the NBA level, I wouldn't be surprised. But I also don't know if he is or if he's been hired on. But I just
He is technically retired now, from what I understand.
yeah, they're all technically retired until you get.
But he can come back. I'm just saying, like, he's not
contract
obligated.
offer.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's not obligated. There's no contract negotiations.
But yeah, I think in the NBA wise, just flat out, who's in the NBA right now and who needs a job or who could be looking at a job, I do think it's Mike Malone is the obvious answer here. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a shock name like Jay Wright come out of retirement and do it.
I think it depends which direction they want to go for me. Like, let's say they want to shake things up, maybe not rehash a coach, if that makes sense. Like, they want to do their own thing. I like the idea of bringing in Sam Cassell, who's been kind of floated around as a potential coaching option for years. It feels like he's been part of a ton of different front offices, assistant coaches, etc. Like, he's knows his way around the game, extensive experience coaching as a assistant coach, that sort of thing. So I think if they want to go that direction, it's great. If they want to kind of capitalize on next year, the East being very interesting, especially with the Celtics going in injured, the Giannis, we'll see where he goes, etc. They want to capitalize on that. Mike Malone, as you mentioned. Also, don't look at Taylor Jenkins, who was also fired very prematurely too, who has a slightly different personality than Mike Malone and Thibodeau, who tend to be a little bit more from our age of growing up, is how I will put it politely. Like, there's some,
he is a millennial.
Yeah, he's I think he could be a very. We saw what he did transforming the Grizzlies too. They went from grindhouse to trash house to wow, suddenly very, very good until John Morant kind of went off the rails a little bit.
The Armory.
Yeah, until it turned into Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And then the injuries, of course, caught up with him too. But I think he could be a very good fit there. A different voice, but a still similarly experienced coach to maybe go on a run. But I do think they have options. They're not completely toast. It's just they're in a weird spot where it's like, all right, Cat, you got to quit. You got to pretend you're playing at Kentucky and on the defensive end. Your offensive game has evolved immensely. It's actually awesome when you're locked in. Like that fourth quarter of game 3, I think it was, when he scored 20 points by himself and had, I think, 8 rebounds. Like, he was incredible. We need that consistently with just don't foul and don't look like you're playing 2K21 against a playmaking shot creator in open space. Like, I just need you to move your feet and keep your hands up. You just can't be. You got to stay on the court. You can't be a liability.
Two things. One, Sam Cassell ends up as a Knicks head coach would be hilarious, considering he's a longtime Celtic and current Celtic assistant.
It'd be great.
I believe he lifted a trophy with the Celtics, if I'm not mistaken. But I think he was a backup on the first Big Three Boston three party. Maybe. I might be wrong on that though.
He did win championships with the Rockets too. So the last time he was winning championships, the last time the Knicks were actually getting this far in the playoffs.
Yeah, he was winning championships when Patrick Ewing was still in the league.
Exactly. And then he did win that the Boston 3 party. He was on that team too. So like he knows a thing or two about trophies in the Northeast.
Oh yeah, I'm just thinking for him going from Boston to New York, I don't know. I honestly don't know how well that goes. Also, he played with the Nets, so I don't know how well that works well for the New York fans who are, speaking of Cat, this is the second point I had is, look, New York, relax. Cat is going to be Cat. And I think Cat, this almost works better for his offensive game being in New York because I think he likes being the meme athlete. Like, he wants the spotlight of being that guy. I just don't think it works for him defensively because I think he gets too into himself and next thing you know, he's putting his hand in the cookie jar and getting busted. And look, you can't be in this league already. You cannot have your hand even come close to the offensive player. But now, especially like when he gets to feeling himself, he gets a little too excited defensively. He doesn't have that like, oh, I'm on offense, I can be myself versus I'm on defense. I need to, be conservative and be, safe-minded. He doesn't have that switch off between the two sides. So, but yeah, I do think for New York media, for being in the New York space, I think he is a better player for it offensively because he does use every bit of his talent. This is the one thing I complained about forever is he didn't play down low, and now he's playing down low, passing out, looking great, taking 3 threes a game, which is perfect. That's all I ever asked from him. When he was taking 9 threes a game, I was like, Cat, no. But this cat was really good. Yeah. This is the perfect Cat. This is exactly what you need is if you're going to go forward with the Knicks, now you just got to when you get a new head coach, now you got to approach that defensive big, and you got to figure out who to put there and let Cat be a 4 when it comes to the defensive side, or let him sit against a defensive center and let that be the case. Like, he doesn't need to be guarding a good center or a good big any way, shape, or form. That's never going to work for him.
They need to do everything in their power to not let him get switched in space too, because we saw
and
what happened. In
stop the
theory, he
stupid
should be
switching.
good in space. It's just he needs in space. It's reach.
Look, I don't know when the switch happened, when everybody switched to switching. Sounds so stupid saying that out loud. When that defensive mentality came in the league, you saw the loss of the big man, of a real true big man, because you needed somebody to match up. And now you can match up with anybody. Like, if you're going to switch when the guy goes off the block. Don't switch when he's up at the point. Like, send the guy from the wing out with the guy coming up from the block. It's going to help you because he's going to set a screen, and the role or the man of the ball is going to come to your wing side anyways. Like, I don't see a reason why the switch is set up the way it is, especially with how far they tell Cat to play back. He always gets busted, and then when he plays close, he gets busted. It's like, look, don't just run a stock defense anymore, guys. This is the same complaint I have on offense or in NFL with quarterbacks. Like, if you're going to coach a defense to your players. Cat is obviously not an on-ball defender, so make your defense work for your superstar or star in this case.
Play like a 1-4. Just have him at the very top of the key, but handcuffed so he can't reach in the cookie jar. Just slide his feet and just trying to headbutt passes. Just try and jump up on those like 6'2" point guards and get in the way. Just try and stay in front of them a little bit, and if not, just use your big body, be inconvenient, but make sure he's handcuffed so that he can't start reaching or slapping or anything silly.
Yeah.
Cut out the fouls and just let him be a nuisance. Everyone else plays normal defense. He just plays like cockeyed free safety at that point too, just without the ability to intercept the ball because he doesn't get his hands. The handcuffs only unlock when the Knicks have the ball. They got to find a way to figure it out. But let us know down in the comments who you guys think should replace Thibodeau in New York. And you know what? We're in the NBA finals, but we're also in the UFL playoffs getting ready to kick off this week as we got the UFL champions and the XFL champions going head to head. And we're going to go ahead and start with the USFL championship where Kelcey's Birmingham Stallions trying to go for a 3 or 4-peat, depending on who you talk to. Taking our good friend our good buddy Zach Kyleman's Michigan Panthers for the USFL championship to head to the UFL champion. A very interesting season for the Stallions. Still finished 7-3. We're still very, very good, but a little disappointing considering they had such high expectations. They've been like, 20-2 the last 2 years or something ridiculous like that, or 18. Like, they've been so outstanding. And this year they were just good. So, Kelcey, do your Stallions get it done, or do we see a Panther upset?
I will say this, and I said this when we did our intro. I thought the Michigan Panthers would do better with Bryce Perkins, or maybe I said it on Jared's show. I'm not sure. But I know I said Bryce Perkins for the Panthers was a better option at starting quarterback than any other player on their team. And guess what? The Virginia alum, Bryce Perkins, is a fantastic quarterback for the Michigan Panthers. Should not surprise anybody. The Stallions got off to a rough start, and since that, I believe they were 7-1 down the last 8 weeks. Maybe mistaken. Maybe they're 6-2. But I do believe the last 8 weeks they went 7-1. This team is, look, Skip Holtz knows how to coach when it comes to big games in the UFL, USFL. This is a 4-peat. I don't care what anybody says. You won 2 in the USFL. You're going to win 2 in the XFL. This is what's going to happen. So now they just have to win this game, and you're going to win you have a great chance to win your second for the XFL and be a 4 straight season champion. However you want to break that down, I don't care whether you want to call back-to-back and then back-to-back. I don't care. I'm going to call it a 4-peat. That's what it is. So give me the Stallions in this one. I don't think I'm going to take my bias off for this one. I'm leaving it right there and wearing it proud.
I want to take a look at the line too. Birmingham's just a -1.5 favorite too. They've been they're usually the last few years a much larger favorite than that. So you can tell that A, they have a lot of faith in the Panthers to keep it close, and B, the Stallions, as you mentioned, while they've been very good, there's just quite that missing edge of here we go again. They don't have that 2022, 2023 Georgia feel of, okay, we already know they're going to lose. The question is by how much. So or maybe it's 21, 22. Either way, my point remains. I'm going to stick with the Stallions as well. I think they're going to win a close one. I think they're just going to control the ball a little bit better. I think they're a little bit more balanced. And I do like Bryce Perkins at quarterback. I think the former Los Angeles Rams have been a very strong upgrade, but we're still going to go with the Stallions. And I do think, as we mentioned, pedigree does matter in this situation. In a tight game like that, I think they'll find a way to squeak it out close. Because it's 1.5, they'll cover the spread. The boys are going to be close. Might even come down to like 3 points or something like that. Like maybe you go for two too early or something silly.
Last year's game against these two was a fantastic game as well. This one's going to continue that way.
Absolutely. Then we head over to the XFL side as the DC Defenders take on the St. Louis Battlehawks. And pretty much the two best teams for most of the year record-wise until the last couple of weeks, where the DC Defenders basically fell off. They were like 6-2 at one point, then lost 2 in a row, or 5-1. They were cooking and they fell off. Battlehawks a slower start, but caught fire down the stretch and have been absolutely outstanding. -2 for the Battlehawks in St. Louis, if I'm not mistaken, nonetheless, too. So, Kelcey, is it going to be the Battlehawks Stallions, or do the Defenders get it done?
Yeah, the Battlehawks have had the two worst showings in a conference playoff, or not even getting a chance to be in a conference playoff for the last 2 seasons. Once in the when they were the XFL, and then once last year in the UFL, they got shafted. Again, ironically, both were played in St. Louis, and they didn't get to appear. Now in St. Louis, they get to appear. They're the home team. Probably the best crowd in all of the UFL is St. Louis. I have the Battlehawks as my favorite. The Defenders continue to backwalk their way into the playoffs. It's been 2 seasons now of this. Last year, this year. It doesn't look good. Jordan Ta'amu still looks like the guy who's consistently trying to throw a game for the DC Defenders. He feels like Shane Falco before Shane Falco showed up in the replacements, where somebody's shaving something, and it sure as heck ain't his beard. It's been a problem, and so for that, I'm going to go with the Battlehawks in this one as well.
I don't love the way Jordan Ta'amu played down the stretch of the season. He finished with 17 touchdowns, a not inspiring 55% completion. Like, it was something just seems to always, he's such a strong history of being a good spring quarterback, but it feels like the last couple of years with DC, he just has not been the same. Like you said, just some of those passes, some of the decisions, they just have you questioning. He almost looks like a deer in the headlights at different times. He doesn't move very well, so him trying to, it reminds me of when Baker Mayfield would try to run with Cleveland. It's like, you're not as athletic as you think. Don't move so much. Just
like
reset
you're more
your
athletic
feet.
than Peyton Manning, but you're not more athletic than Eli.
Exactly. By today's quarterback athletic standards, you are Peyton Manning or Eli Manning. Like, just slide your feet, roll a little bit, but don't be taking off. Don't be high. Don't be doing anything clever. I don't love the running game. Deion Jackson's all right. He's been pretty solid. Abraham Smith's been pretty solid. I like the receivers. Cornell Powell's been really good. Chris Rowland, they've combined for 10 touchdowns. They've been solid there. And defensively, they were outstanding for those first 2 months. They were, I think them and Arlington were the 2 top defenses for the first couple of months. It's not the smartest bet, but I do think that that defense could keep them in it. So I'm going to go and take DC to pull the upset. I think it's going to be very close. I think they're going to win because Jordan Ta'amu is not going to be asked to win. I think defensively they're going to find just enough juice to not let the Battlehawks more or less do what the Battlehawks do, if that makes sense. They're going to find just enough juice defensively. The pass rush, when it's on, has been one of the stronger units of the entire season, offense, defense, whatever it might be. Max Duggan, we already know he can, whether it's Max Duggan, whoever's playing quarterback, we know they can handle it. I also just don't, I think they're going to do a good job keying in on the run against the Battlehawks, which I think is going to slow them down and force them to pass. Just double team, don't let Hakeem Butler get loose, I guess, if that, among all things, but
good luck.
Exactly. But they have a total of, if my math is correct, they have 7 passing touchdowns on the year. So they're not necessarily lighting it up through the air. They've obviously on the ground, they make up for that in tenfold with 16 rushing touchdowns. So I think if they are able to stop the run, keep Max Duggan from using his legs, same with Sanders and Howard, I think they can make it very interesting if they can get him in those passing situations, let the defense tee off. So we're going to take the DC Defenders with a defensive-minded upset. So for you, we have the Stallions taking on the Battlehawks. For me, we have the Stallions taking on the Defenders. Your Stallions pulling it off, or do the Battlehawks offer a little bit too much resistance with that ground game?
Yeah, I have to go with the Stallions. I just said I'm not going to take my bias off of this one. Look, I think the Battlehawks are an interesting team. I think they can be a championship team. I just think for some reason, when it comes to these spring leagues, I don't think there's any denying the fact that the Stallions have proven, until otherwise taken away from them, that they are the best run team year after year after year. They've changed a quarterback every single year. They've changed running back every single year. They've changed their number 1 receiver every single year. They've changed their number 1 linebacker every single year. They've changed their number 1 safety every single year. And yet somehow there's one person that continues to be there, and that's Skip Holtz. And he continues to lead this team to a championship year after year after year. And if, assuming they get there, they have a chance to win another title, I will not be shocked to see them win another title. I will be more shocked to see them get blown out in a title game than I would be to even have a close game and lose. I think this team would be, until proven otherwise, I have to go with the Stallions. You don't win 3 straight spring league championships and not have some kind of confidence going into this. Like, you have to have some sort of confidence going into these playoffs and going into a potential championship game. Like, and the Battlehawks, on the other hand, I just talked about, they got shafted 2 years previous from even making it to the conference championship by other teams that don't deserve it. And here they are finally, and assuming they make it to the championship game, which is still a big assuming because you still have to get past DC, I don't think they have the offense enough to keep up with what the Stallions can do offensively. I think that's what the difference. The Stallions offense would be hugely favored in a matchup against the Battlehawks. And that's where I think the difference lies. So for me, I would have the Stallions winning it all.
For me, I have the Stallions taking on the Defenders. And like you mentioned, I think the Stallions will be Birmingham with confidence going into this game. I think they'll be ready to go. They played 5 different quarterbacks this year. Still won 7-3. Running the ball, they had like 10 different people carry the ball at some point. They scored 10 touchdowns, gave up 9 on the ground. Defensively, statistically speaking, they were pretty okay. I mean, like they had 7 takeaways where opponents got 8 on them. Like they just found unique ways to win. There was nothing that was super outstanding. They just kind of controlled, found a way, 17-13, something like that. Just always found a unique way to win. It's really hard to pick against them, but like you're not taking the bias off. I'm going to keep the bias on as well. I think Teamu's going to he's going to throw them a couple. It's up to the Stallions to catch them. And I think if this is a case where the Stallions don't catch those ones Teamu throws at them, that's where I think those receivers like Cornell Powell, like Roland, I think they'll find some holes in the secondary, just enough to where they're open enough to where even Teamu can't miss him if he's Teamuing. I think defensively, they're going to find a way to get after it. Same similar formula with the Battlehawks. They're going to slow down the run and force one of the 19 quarterbacks that Birmingham has played this year to try and beat them. And I think they do match up a little bit better with the Stallions receivers defensively. I think they're Deion Cade, K. Johnson. They're really good. I think they can semi-cover them if they can the same way with the Battlehawks receivers. So I'm going to take DC to somehow climb out of the depths of what are you doing the last few months and find a way to get it done and hoist one for the snake. For the beer snake, they're going to find a way to get a trophy just so next year they can have the trophy sitting at the top of the snake.
See, this is why I don't think DC ever wins a trophy in the UFL is because they have the beer snake. You literally get a trophy every game.
Or is that a consolation prize?
I mean, I think it's a great trophy, personally. I'd rather have that trophy than actually have to go through the fight for the other one and get punched in the face too much. But no, I do think DC has a chance. If they can make it to the championship, that's a hard matchup for anybody. That defense is really good. But it'll be interesting to see if they can actually figure out the offense is always my question with DC is just what are you going to do offensively? But yeah, it's always one of those situations. You know what I'm never going to bet on when it comes to these games is I'm never betting the over. Ever. Like I might bet one of these games as an over, and that would be the Stallions game, the USFL championship game. Them and Michigan offensively, fantastic. Defensively, they can get got. I think they get got more defensively than they don't. And so like that's the only one I even consider touching the over. I don't care what the over is anywhere else. It's not happening. But yeah, that's the only one I'd even consider it.
Absolutely. Let us know down below who you all think is going to be heading to the UFL championship and who you guys think is going to be hoisting the trophy at the end of the season. We're going to step off the UFL gridiron. We're going to head back to the NFL gridiron because it is, as we mentioned, it is June. OTAs, off season. Not a whole lot going on, but there's always the fun little rumor mills that kick in at this time of day. And one we're looking at right now is we're going to head over to Atlanta with Kyle Pitts, who he's been subjected to trade rumors a lot. He's been present for team meetings, but he's been missing some of the OTA practices because of a foot injury. Potential hot commodity and trade rumors, we'll see a lot. There's nothing confirmed. This is literally a rumor season, but we're going to have fun with it because it's, it's very interesting because new coaching regime in there. It came in last year. Kyle Pitts has continued to not quite live up to that billing of a 4th overall pick, generational caliber tight end, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to say he's on the move. We're going to say he's up to get moved. If he does get moved, I don't think it would be till midseason, honestly. Like if the Falcons are 2-6 and it's just not working like a trade deadline deal. But we're having fun today. So we're going to say Kyle Pitts is on the move before the season. Kelcey, where do you think Kyle Pitts should go, and who do you think should make a move?
Well, those might actually be two different answers, honestly, the way you worded that. But no, you know what? First of all, let me just say this. How wild is it that we're already talking about moving Kyle Pitts, considering what Arthur Smith did to this man? You told him to
24 years
block,
old.
and you told him to block instead of running his routes because your backup tight end would get open. Like, no, maybe use your starting tight end. But yeah, anyways, I digress.
And he was subjected to Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke, among other quarterbacks who were not exactly known for, their prolific passing skill set.
They're Jordans, though. Well, at least Taylor Heineke's Jordans. That's for sure.
At least he looked clean while he was running for his life and throwing the check.
Yeah. But no, you know what? Kyle Pitts, if I think he's going anywhere, I look at the teams that need a tight end and have a good offense. I really come down to two real answers. And the one I'm going to pick of those two actually has a new quarterback as well. I'm going to go with the Titans. I think for the consideration of Cam Ward has proven in every stop that he loves his inside receiver / tight end, whatever they are. Washington State, I can't say they ever had a tight end because they were 5 wide every play. It's the inside receiver. It's not a tight end in that situation. But at Miami, he loved his tight end. Arroyo got drafted because of him. Look, I'm not saying Arroyo wouldn't have got drafted otherwise, but it sure made him look a lot better. He also loves the slot receivers, and by the way, Pitts can play both. And with that team, you're not going to be asked to block 24/7 when you have Cam Ward as your quarterback, and you just happen to have a pretty good offensive line coming up now. So you're not going to be asked to block as much as you would be in a lot of other situations. The alternative option I had, I'm not going to say just yet, but they would make him block like a crazy man, and I don't think he wants to do that again. And I think he would, if he could veto that move, I think he would. But the number one place for me, I look at the Titans as the most obvious answer. However, there's some unnecessary rivalry between Tennessee and Atlanta when it comes to anything in the world, especially sports, and just Georgia and Tennessee in general. So I don't know if that runs to Arthur Blank or not, but maybe it does, and that's the whole reason this doesn't happen. But I think if he was to be moved, Tennessee is the most likely suitor to me.
Not really who you want blocking necessarily. Freak athlete, very young, still a lot of career ahead of him. Kind of want to use him almost like a receiver type, like a receiver tight end more than a tight end. Sounds an awful like a guy who wears number 87 in the Midwest who's heading for the Hall of Fame, and Travis Kelcey, who happens to be on the backside of his career. And by backside, I mean it could have been over like 2 months ago, but we're going to give it another go. Kansas City can get him for like a third or a fourth or something like that, or conditional. That's something. You give him Patrick Mahomes and an Andy Reid offense where it's like, all right, go be a freak. Because I don't know what's happening with Rashee Rice. Like, it sounds like health-wise will be good to go this year, but I need to make sure he doesn't come back too fast and too furious, so we'll see if he's able to get on the field. Xavier Worthy is still obviously an absolute Lamborghini on the outside, so there's a lot of options there. You need some more weapons, though. We saw the offense just meh all of last year, just meh the entire way up until the Super Bowl. Kyle Pitts gives you some juice, and when Travis Kelce does retire, which we presume is going to be within the next 12 months, give or take. So you're telling me that you can't put Kyle Pitts in the same thing they do. They take Travis Kelce out in goal line situations, so he doesn't have to block. That is Kyle Pitts' dream. They put him in motion so he doesn't have to worry about getting jammed up at the line. He often starts outside, walks inside, gets a running start. I could see them doing a lot out with Kyle Pitts. You're going to feed him. Patrick Mahomes is going to find you. And if you're running a lazy route, which Kyle Pitts has been accused of sometimes, him and Andy will let you know about it. Mm-hmm. And if you take your sweet time or you get jammed up like he's not the most physical specimen as far as getting off of jams, well, Patrick will buy some time and he'll dance around and do some Patrick Mahomes magician stuff to let you get open downfield too. So I like the idea I hate the idea of it, but it makes a lot of sense for Kansas City to look into that. And it just gives you another matchup nightmare when they need to reload that offense this offseason. I think he's a very, very good fit that the rest of the league and Atlanta shouldn't do for that reason. Yeah. But it makes sense.
Yeah, no, I like that from the option of Kyle Pitts' future. Mm-hmm. Because, one, you get paired with Patrick Mahomes. We know he loves tight ends. We know he loves receiving tight ends. And I'm even including Blake Bell in this conversation for receiving tight end. But most importantly, you get Andy Reid, who might be one of the best offensive coaches the game has ever seen. And yes, I am putting him ahead of Bill Walsh in that conversation. He'll never admit to, but I think Andy has done enough in the game today to become such an innovator that he has that conversation worthy. Like, he's worthy of that conversation. But also, I think not only will he make him play better, like we've seen Travis Kelcey play better than what we ever thought Travis Kelcey would be coming out of Cincinnati. We all kind of thought, oh, well, maybe he'll be like, I don't know, a third down option. But turned into himself. He's become a Hall of Fame. Not taking anything away from Travis Kelcey, but when Andy Reid got there, it made the difference for Travis Kelcey because he learned to trust, he learned to teach, and he learned to educate on how to run routes and how to be the best possible tight end for your quarterback. And I think that's in and of itself something Kyle Pitts needs. He needs to have somebody to teach him how to be the best tight end for his quarterback, which means being able to see the field and learn on the fly and learn the things that Travis Kelcey has done. So from that perspective, I think that's a great move. Plus, I also love the idea of him being in one of those carousel type route or plays that they decide to run, and then he pops into a quarterback role and throws a touchdown pass to somebody. I think that would be hilarious. Maybe throws a touchdown pass to Travis Kelcey in the same season. I don't know.
He goes from goal line blocker, so the third tight end can catch touchdowns, to now throwing the touchdown to the quarterback or something like that. How the turntables have turned for him.
Like, honestly, I could just see it now. He catches a touchdown and throws a touchdown to Travis Kelcey in the same game. But that's what Andy Reid could do. I'm with you, though. I hate the fact that that's even a consideration, that he is a possibility that the Kansas City Chiefs could yet again pull another young player who is a matchup nightmare that they didn't even draft. They didn't even have to draft him because some team decides they don't know how to use him properly. And so, you know what? We're going to ship him out for a third or fourth. Like, oh, great. Thanks for ruining the AFC for another, 10 years.
He's 24 years old. So let's say everything turns around and he maximizes that potential. You got 10 more years of another demon tight end with Patrick Mahomes. Like, great. And he's going to learn via osmosis from just being around Travis Kelcey, all those intricacies. Like, thanks, league. You know what? Cut this. We're deleting this part out of the show. I can't let this reach Missouri. We're cutting this part out.
Well, let's go a little further than Missouri because I just want to throw this other option out there, and it's also the AFC West. The Chargers. While I don't think it would be a great fit for Kyle Pitts, I think it would be a great fit for Justin. I just have a problem
with Greg Roman quit running the ball.
Exactly. I have a problem with seeing them line up with 9 men on the line of scrimmage and Kyle Pitts being one of them. I think that's a terrible option. But I think for somebody who, from a quarterback, we both think his talent with his arm is fantastic. And his coach raves about him, a former quarterback, by the way, who loves to wear khakis and cleats. Despite his passion for the run, I think he is equally as passionate about athletic freaks when it comes to playing. And let's just not forget, his brother just so happens to be part of the reason for the resurrection behind Darren Waller. So there is some history in that family of creating great tight ends somewhere. I think there's a situation here where if you don't go to the Titans, you don't go to the Chiefs, which we hope doesn't happen. Maybe there's the option for the Chargers to end up getting him, which would be a great pick to have him and Ladd McConkey with Justin Herbert. That'd be a lot of fun. And by the way, the AFC West matchups, if it goes to the Chiefs or the Chargers, would be stupid when it comes to matching up with the Raiders because you might have 2 of the top 5 tight ends for years to come in the same conference or same division.
If he goes to the Chargers under that Greg Roman and Harbaugh offense, he's playing receiver. His tight end mantra's over him. Ladd McConkey's playing tight end before him. He's like, nope, you're not
as successful, if not more so, than Quentin Johnston has been.
He will be Mike Evans, basically. They will put him out wide, and he will throw 9s and deep posts. Like his role is changing. Which let him block corners on those outside stretch plays. That's where he'll block. He's like, okay, I'll do that. You're not putting me in. I'm not dealing with Khalil Mack down there. I'm not dealing with the Bosas or any. I'm not dealing with Max Crosby twice a year.
Yeah,
I already had to deal with Cam Jordan and all those guys. But let us know down below what you all think if Kyle Pitts is on the move, which I don't think he will be. But it's fun to speculate. If there's an inch, we're gonna take a mile as far as the fun rumor mill. But what won't be a rumor is next year's NBA All-Star game, as we will have a bit of a shakeup. As it will be Team USA versus Team World for the All-Star game, kind of taking a page out of the NHL book. And I loved this idea 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't love the idea now because USA is going to get sparked. Let's look at a potential starting lineup for the world team. SGA, Luka, Giannis, Jokic, Wemby. You have 4 MVPs, 4 of the almost unanimous top 5 players in the game, and Wemby, the guy who's been basically the generational talent who was minus 1,500 to be Defensive Player of the Year 90 days ago. who's going to start? Who on USA is going to be able? What are they? What's USA going to be able to do to match that? Especially Tatum's going to be out next year, so your other arguable guy that could be in that conversation's gone. You got Ant, and then you got the old heads like LeBron, Steph, KD, Joel. If he's even healthy enough to play by that point, that's always a concern. Like Cat, maybe if he cannot foul. Like I don't like this for US. I think they get sparked if this plays out in that way that I just laid out.
Yeah. I think everybody forgets SGA is Canadian. Guys, he's not American. He is a dominant Canadian. They do happen occasionally. And he is a fantastic player. By the way, Andrew Wiggins also would be eligible for Canada.
That's why they don't believe it. They're still scarred by Andrew Wiggins. That's why they refuse to accept SGA.
Something about Midwest players when being from Canada. I don't get it. But yeah, I think this is a joke. If the U.S. thinks they have a great opportunity, it's no longer there. Yes, next year, sure, it might be fine because you have LeBron, Curry, KD. But the year after that, when you don't potentially have LeBron anymore, you potentially don't have Curry, you potentially don't have KD anymore. Who's your next man up? De'Aaron Fox, Jalen Brunson, who at that time will be 30, by the way. Maybe Cat. Yeah, like Tatum will be back, but will Tatum still be the same? I mean, you do that to your Achilles, you don't necessarily come back the same. We saw it with Kobe. You blow your Achilles, you don't necessarily come back better afterwards. So it's a situation where you look at the future for the U.S. All-Star team. I don't love this, and this is something they did in the Rising Stars game for many years. And ironically enough, Booker and Luka always matched up as the number ones for both teams. By the way, Booker would be eligible for the USA, so maybe we get some hope. But yeah, we got blown out then too, is all I'm going to say. The U.S. didn't really stand a chance in those games either. But look, it's the All-Star game, so why not have a little fun and make it a international flavor? I don't know. Maybe North America versus the rest of the world. I love that idea a little more because the U.S. doesn't suck in comparison.
They get SGA out of the deal.
Yeah, we get SGA out of the deal. But I don't love the idea of this being just a straight up USA versus the world situation because, oh boy, this isn't golf, guys.
The one thing that I think could change it is because of the situation, maybe we get like LeBron, Steph, KD turning back the clock a little bit, maybe Ant doing his thing, Joel if he's playing. If
both
Chet
Ants,
can take
maybe both Ants.
Both Ants too, Devin Booker, like you mentioned, like there are some players there. It's that starting five for each side where it's like, okay, in 2026 is what it'll be next year. That is very heavily leaning towards the world. The best thing for America could happen is Chet takes an astronomical leap next year. So they at least have one freakishly long athlete that could compete with Wemby. Just someone that can match up with that unnatural body style. Like an alien to match an alien, if you will. But I like the idea. I think USA gets sparked, though, if I'm being honest at this point. I could be wrong, but we'll have to wait and see. But be sure to let us know down below what you all think of this one. But we're going to go from All-Star to the finals. We're sticking with basketball, but it's going to get real serious as we head into our main event. And in less than 24 hours from the time of this recording, the NBA Finals will be officially underway, which means it's time for our NBA Finals breakdown. We're going through 5 categories to determine ourselves who we think will win. We're going to go over the superstars, the co-stars, the bench, the coach, and the X factor. So we'll go and start with the superstar. In this case, we already know it's Haliburton, more or less, versus SGA. We'll keep this one kind of quick. I think we're both leaning towards SGA at this point. I think that's fair to say.
I'm SGA all the way.
After everything we just said, not even 2 minutes ago about the USA versus world. So we'll keep that one quick. We're both on the SGA train just to save some time. Co-stars where it gets interesting. Because it depends who you think is the co-star. So, Kelcey, who are you going to give? Because considering both these teams play such heavy team basketball outside of those top options, it's like, who is the co-star? So, Kelcey, who are you giving the co-star edge to, and who are you picking as the co-star?
Yeah, I had to think about this one for a minute. This was probably the hardest category for me to pick because I hate picking and choosing certain things like this. I feel like you picked this exact reason for this exact reasons because I go through a conundrum.
3 years running now. The difference is you have to be the judge usually. You just actually
every other year has been easy though. This year is the hardest
you didn't
one.
Have to make the pick. We had other people make the pick.
Yeah, so for me, I weighed this out and I chose Jalen Williams for the Thunder and I chose Pascal Siakam because of his current play for the Pacers. Those are my 2 co-stars. That's who I weighed against each other. And in that weighing, I took Jalen Williams. I think he is a better co-star because of how he can move the ball, push the ball, play defense, and match up. Do I think he has a good matchup in this one? No. But do I think he has a better matchup than Pascal Siakam? Probably. But yeah, it's to me, I just look at what he can do to make his superstar better is where I was weighing the co-star ranking. And I think Jalen Williams makes his superstar better. Whereas Pascal Siakam doesn't necessarily make Haliburton better. He just looks really good, is what Siakam does. So, yeah, that's why I'm going Jalen Williams for me.
We have the same co-stars with Jalen Williams and Pascal Siakam. We have the same option there, so neither one of us tried to get too outrageous for that one. I'm taking the Pascal Siakam route, though. I'm going to look at the finals experience. He's one of two players in this game that has NBA finals experience, the other being Alex Caruso. And by comparison, it's not even close. Pascal Siakam was a legit number 2 option for that Toronto Raptors team. He dropped 30 and 8 in that game 1 against the Warriors. Like, he has proven it. And we see, too, like, he is kind of their half-court offense. When they aren't running, when they aren't playing like the Richmond Oilers from Coach Carter, we're going to run. That's what we did in practice. We're going to run. When it comes to a half-court offense, he kind of is their half-court offense. When it slows down, he's tough for smaller guys. He's quick for bigger guys. And he also, if he's closing out on a three-point shooter, next thing you know, Tyrese gets the board and he's throwing a full-court pass, and Pascal's out there somewhere like he thinks he's Randy Moss or something. So I think Jalen Williams is awesome. I think we had this conversation in like 365 days. I think it'd be a little bit different. I'm going to give Pascal Siakam the slight edge because I think they're very similar right now. And I'm going to take the slight edge towards the NBA Finals experience as the co-star and what he means for their half-court offense for a team that likes to not be in the half court as much as they can. Even after makes, they like to avoid any sort of half-court offense to the best of their abilities. He's the one factor in their half-court offense that seems to make that is as consistent as it gets. Will it? This matchup, we'll see. Chet's a little different than Cat, so we'll see how he matches up there. But I'll give Pascal Siakam a super slight edge. So we got superstar, co-star. We're looking at the bench now. We're looking at we're going into the depths of each team. Both teams known surprisingly well for their depth. No shot at Tom Thibodeau there, but these teams are very opposite of the Knicks, where they can each play 10, 11 deep sometimes. So where's the edge going to the bench?
Yeah, for me, this one was not even a question. I ran with the Pacers, and I don't run, but I ran with the Pacers for the better bench here. Let me just a couple names here. TJ McConnell, who I said at any other team would probably be their number 5, their point guard. Ben Shepherd, who's at times really good, at other times he's a great defensive player. Benedict Mathurin, who, by the way, was a starter last year prior to injury. Had it not been for Andrew Nembhard, he would still be starting. Obi Toppin, who, if he actually dresses, will play. And Thomas Bryant, who can still play pretty well. So, yeah, that's a pretty good second 5. I like those options. Not that the second 5 for OKC isn't good. I just don't think they match up equally as well from firepower and defensive standpoints.
I am going to go the opposite way. I'm going to go with the Oklahoma City Thunder because I also look at Aaron Wiggins, Jalen Williams, Alex Caruso, Carson Wallace, Joe Isaiah. They have Kendrick Williams. They've played basically 12 deep throughout, and they're all hyenas on the defensive end. Like, you don't get a break. You don't get a cone to walk in on occasion. They all absolutely swarm. They all absolutely run. I'm going to give them the slight edge because I think Pacers bench is better offensively. Like you mentioned, I think they are better offensively. I think what Oklahoma City's their bench can do defensively makes a little bit of a difference. And they complement well. Like, you take out SGA and bring in SGA and Chet. Those guys with Jalen Williams running the show, since you never take all 5 out at the same time, they're bringing a whole new 5. There's always mix and match. You're getting J-Dub with Alex Caruso. Good luck to that. Good luck to the perimeter guys on the edge. I think they match. So I'm going to give a slight edge to the Thunder, but I do agree with you as far as if I need to get buckets, I do like the Pacers bench with Benedict Mathurin, et cetera, but I like the hyenas on the Thunder.
I think that's why I weighed the Pacers a little higher, is because, like you said, there's mix and match with everything. And every one of the guys I can bring in from the Pacers gives me offense. But they also aren't a turnstile defensively. And whereas, like, I feel like Haliburton's going to be out there pretty much guaranteed every single time. He maybe comes off the court for a couple minutes, and Nembhard and Nesmith run the offense, and it looks great still. And I think having Haliburton as their superstar, if you will, I don't know if he considers himself their superstar, but he is their superstar.
Their top guy.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes the bench for the Pacers more effective, is because you have a true point as your superstar. So I think that's what makes their bench more effective for me. And while I love everything about the Thunder in a lot of ways, that's one of the few things that I love about the Pacers.
If you combine both of their benches and just took like the best and made a starting 5 out of that one, that team could get to the play-in. That team could be a play-in team, just using like the best bench players from both teams combined into a starting 5.
That team's better than the 10 seed in both conferences. Absolutely.
You know, that team might be the Heat and the Kings and the Hawks. Like that team might be competing for an 8 seed.
Honestly, they might be a 7 seed or a 5 seed.
Well, let's not get hasty, but they might.
That's
You never know.
possibility.
You never know. That's for sure. Next up, we're gonna go to the coaching ranks. So we got Mark Daigneault and Rick Carlisle. Where are we leading on this one?
Man, I love Daigneault. I do think he's been. I think for the last 2 years, I've had him in Coach of the Year conversations. He didn't win either of my awards, but I think he was my second favorite both times. I think he's been a fantastic coach for what the Thunder have done. I just like Rick Carlisle better from a coaching X's and O's standpoint. I think this always goes back to the conversation I have about X's and O's and Joe's and Schmo's coaches. There are two different styles of coaching. And I think Daigneault, while he has some X's and O's expertise, I don't think he needs that as much on this Thunder team, because he's really coaching young players who need that Joe's and Schmo's type of coach. Whereas Rick Carlisle is a no BS. He's going to come in and he's going to tell you, we're running our system and we're going to run it every time. Haliburton does something stupid, he pulls Haliburton out. SGA does something stupid, Daigneault looks at him and says, don't do it again, dummy. You know, like, I think the coaching style of Rick Carlisle works better for their superstars than Daigneault's coaching style works better for his superstar. So for me, I'm going to go with Indy and Rick Carlisle.
Yeah, I'm going to keep mine short and sweet. I'm taking the same way. He has finals experience. It's been a long time, but he has finals experience beating the LeBron-led Miami Heat. Granted, they were kind of more the Dwayne Wade-led Miami Heat that year, but I digress. On the backs of Dirk Nowitzki and JJ Barea and Tyson Chandler. And some of the adjustments he made in that series were top-notch, and he always makes top-notch adjustments. He's awesome in Dallas. He's awesome in Indiana. He's just a winning coach. So I'm going to give him the edge there. Mark Daigneault's well on his way, but I talking like 2 decades of experience and that's separated right now. Like, check back in 2 years and I might change my mind, but like right now,
Rick Carlisle has outcoached Eric Spoelstra, Greg Popovich, Phil Jackson, and countless other super head coaches. I could run down a list, but I would be here for hours running down the list of super coaches he has outcoached in his career. Whereas, no offense to Daigneault, he just hasn't gotten there yet. Again, like you said with Jalen Williams, ask me 365 days from now, my answer might be completely different.
Exactly. He's well on his way, and he might be the next one. I just think right now the experience plays. And so based on the look of it, we each are 2-2 right now. Interesting enough, so that brings it down to the final stage is the team that has a better X factor. So who are you naming the X factor, and why do you think they are the better X factor? This is a good one because we get to make our choice from people we haven't talked about yet too. So you can't say the X factor is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because he might get fouled 17 times. Doesn't count. We can't use the refs. Those are the only rules.
Well, good. I had neither of them chosen. Unfortunately, we have talked about the guy I initially picked for my X factor, and you touched on the reason he is my X factor. So I'm not going to bring that up again. I'm going to pivot to my second X factor and mention the first X factor in doing so.
Well,
Miles Turner is my second X factor. My first is Siakam, but Miles Turner is my second X factor. And the reason why is because of the size and experience they have. Pascal Siakam is a matchup nightmare where he is long and lanky like Chet. He has the experience and strength to outmatch Chet. Miles Turner, while he also has a matchup with Hartenstein where physically speaking, maybe they're par for par, he has the experience and strength to take over when he needs to. And he can also stretch the floor, whereas Hartenstein is very much a down-low center. And if Hartenstein's not in the court, who's matching up with Miles Turner? I don't know if you have somebody. If you put Chet on Miles, who do you put on Siakam? That's where my question always comes to. Does the other Jalen Williams come in and match up? I don't know. But for me, that's where my X factor is. I think the coaching conversation we just had applies to this as well. I think you talk about the true playoff experience and the true finals experience from Siakam, And then just the years of experience between Turner and Siakam for playing down low and taking advantage of smaller, thinner, younger players. They've done that their whole career now because they've had years of experience to do this. I just think that's going to be the X factor when it comes down to it.
Unplanned, but my X factor is actually Chet for almost the exact opposite reasons of what you said. Because I want to one thing that really impressed me is after that game one in the Denver series where he missed those 2 free throws late that ended up costing the game. For a young player like that, that could have wilted you. Like you had have caved in. Like that could have been a hard thing to bounce back from. He's played some of the best basketball of his life since then. In that Minnesota series, he was awesome at points. He's showed the ability to match up with those guys that look like, in theory, they should put a shoulder in his chest and collapse him because he's so damn skinny, like Julius Randle, like Jokic, like Aaron Gordon, like Rudy. No, not Rudy Gobert, but you get the idea of what I'm getting at.
I was never going to include Rudy in a
Like
conversation.
you get guys that physically look like they should just snap him in half with their shoulder blades. He matched up well with them. His ability off ball defense with that freakish pterodactyl arm wingspan. And on offense, he started putting the ball on the court and driving by these bigs that come out on him too. The ability, a lot of everything you said with Miles Turner kind of applies to him as well. And the way he has progressed as the playoffs have gone along, if he continues on that trajectory, he could be a very interesting X factor. And as you mentioned, maybe if Indiana wants to go small, they can go small with a 7'1" Chet as their small center, quote unquote. If they to match small, like when Indiana would do that Siakam at the 5. They want to go huge. That you got him and Hartstein. Like I think he could be the X factor if he's hitting his shot and he moves pretty well in space. So if they do go mismatch hunting, he's not a complete cone in space. He's matched up on the outside. We saw against Nikhil Alexander Walker, Jaden Daniels, and etc. Like he's not useless in space. You obviously don't want to, you don't want to bank on it. But when those cross matches happen, it's not like when they would get Luka in those cross matches. So then Timberwolves would do the like, oh nope, that's where we're going. At that point, it's like, okay, we got to run the offense and maybe this works. So I'm going to go in almost the exact same reasons with Miles Turner, but on the opposite end of it, I'm going to go with Chet because he could balance out those matchups. I think the Thunder have a really good chance to cause some chaos and maybe wrap this up quicker than most people would expect if he's able to win those matchups in the front court. But based on our thing, you got 3 check marks in favor of the Pacers. I got 3 in favor of the Thunder. Are you picking the Pacers to be the NBA champions in roughly 2 weeks' time? And if so, how many games?
Before I get there, I just want to touch one thing. Chet Holmgren gives up nearly 45 pounds to both Siakam and Miles Turner, and that's terrifying to me. I just want to throw that out there. It's 40 pounds to Siakam, maybe 37 if we're technical, and then 42 pounds to Miles Turner. And that's because they were nice and decided to cap Miles Turner at 250, which I know he weighs more than 250.
Yeah, there's kind of the same difference with Julius Randle, who's also 250.
Yeah, he's also 250. But
and his shoulders are the size of Chet's head.
But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there that it is a very interesting aspect, whereas Julius is a driving big, Miles Turner is a big who just happens to be able to drive.
Also throwing Jokic, who's listed at a generous 285 away. Like you said, that is a generous 285.
Yeah,
I know he's skinny Jokic now, but
I also think that's a difference though. The Jokic is a back to his back passing big, just by definition, like if we're going to give him a classification, whereas Miles Turner is still a back to the basket scoring big first. Like Jokic goes to set up the offense, whereas Turner goes to score. He's not the first option, so he is the second. When the ball gets to him, he needs to score. That's basically the Turner. That's my theory with that.
I want to be impressed if they put Miles Turner on the block because he is now pick and pop or pick and roll. I want to see them actually utilize him on the block besides just when they're 4-foot guys on it. I want to see him and Chet fight in the block. As the 1990s basketball fan that I am, I want to see big men fight on the block again.
I think it would be hilarious to see. I would love to see Hartenstein. I'd love to see Hartenstein Turner, that matchup. I'd love to see Siakam and Chet outside and in. I think both conversations are a fantastic one.
Forget the superstar guards, the MVPs, the playoff darlings. Get them out of the way. Let us get our big man fight down low.
I don't care about free throw merchant. I don't care about Urkel out there. I don't care about all that. Give me big men basketball down low.
So on the left block, all the other 8 players sit on the right side of the court.
Exactly. But no, okay. Sorry. To answer your question though, as far as am I picking the Pacers to win? I wasn't until this conversation happened, until we started talking about the finals breakdown. And I talked myself into it when I started looking at the coaching and the X factors and the bench. And I talk about it every year. Your coaching matters, your bench matters, and the third option matters more often than not. Look at last year, Derek White, Drew Holiday. They were fantastic pieces in the reason why the Celtics won. This year, Siakam, Turner, they're fantastic options. Oh, by the way, Naismith and Nembhard are still there. I have a hard time looking past them. And I know the third option on the other side is equally as potentially good, but the fourth and fifth options are not. And I think that's where I look at the Pacers. I just think the depth of ability and scoring and being able to take over, you do have a solid 5-man option to take over this game. It could also be detrimental, but I'm picking the Pacers to win, and I'm going in 6 games for that reason.
All right, so you're following the same pick as the basketball playing Corgi, who also picked the Pacers in 6. So you know what, that might be good. That might be good mojo.
I need to go put a betting app up right now.
I'm gonna take the opposite approach. I think there's a lot of things the Pacers do well, but I feel like the Thunder are a very good counter for it. And the Pacers, the teams they've played, they beat really good teams in the playoffs, but they're not really defensive teams necessarily. The Cavs, the Bucks, they don't play defense at all. It's Giannis save us, and if that doesn't work, they're cooked. It's been that way since Doc came in.
Their coach sucks enough that's the reason why.
Like, they can't defend anybody anymore. The Cavs, even when Mobley and they were healthy, they were an okay defensive team. It was basically Evan Mobley being awesome and everybody else.
There you go.
They're all right. Like, it was even when and that's when they were healthy. They weren't even healthy in that series for the most part too. And then we already know the Knicks aren't playing defense. We spent the first 20 minutes of the show complaining about their defense because Cat and Jalen Brunson are cones at any given moment. And the rest of them, give or take. Where the Thunder, that's the best defense in basketball, and it has been since day one. They throw 10 at you deep. I think that's going to cause a lot of mayhem, which makes it hard to run. It's going to be hard to run them out of the building. I think every game will be relatively close. I don't think the Thunder are going to run them out of the building, but they do the same thing the Pacers do, where they just randomly go on those random blitzes of like 12-0 runs before you can blink. The Thunder do that too. They do it by getting steals and clamping up, where the Pacers do it by you miss a shot and the ball's at the other end of the court in 2 seconds. Because Tyrese Haliburton's throwing bombs like 2018 Patrick Mahomes. So I think the Thunder do what they need to do just a little bit better. So I think they're going to win in 5, but it's going to be like every game's going to be relatively close, if that makes sense. It's going to be a competitive gentleman's sweep, which is a complete oxymoron. But I think they just do enough things better, and I think Shea's going to. It's not like Jalen Brunson where if his shot's not falling, he can't really contribute to the game. Shea's shot's not falling, he'll go get fouled and get his own shots. One way or the other, he'll find his fouls. He'll give you 10 assists, which he did all of last series. He finds ways to get it done a little bit cleaner, and he's not a cone. They don't have any cones, really, which is the biggest thing. It's going to be hard to hunt. So I'm going to take the Thunder in a stupidly close 5-game series. It sounds like I'm being an asshole to Indiana, which I'm not. I just think they're so close, and when it comes to those close games, I'm going to give the Thunder the edge.
That's fair. By the way, clever nickname for Tyrese Haliburton I just thought of. I don't know if anybody in Indiana has said it yet, but Heartland Hallie.
That's much better than what the New York Knicks.
Yeah, we're not talking about what the fans have been, well, I wouldn't say fans, but the haters from New York have been saying.
I said it's much better than the nickname they gave him.
New York fans already irritate me with sports. I don't need to go off on them again.
You know what? I support it. I think I like the Winter Soldier a little bit better for those who know, but you know what? That's a good one as well. Like, he's got plenty of options, and I know how the series go. He might get even more.
Oh, I was gonna say Hollywood for the way he plays offense. It's like Showtime Lakers, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like that's probably been used before.
I say if he played for the Lakers, that basically he wouldn't be able to escape it. It'd be locked in. It'd be locked.
Yeah. He would be Hollywood.
It would be over. But let us know down below who you all think is going to win the finals and how you think it is going to break down. That's going to do it for the main event, which is going to take us into crunch time. And for crunch time, I'm going to keep it short, sweet, and to the point. UFC 316 coming up this weekend. Another opportunity to watch some fights and another opportunity to hopefully win some money. Or pay-per-views. We have had an outstanding winning percentage so far on this year. We'll have our betting breakdown, previews, and everything coming out on Friday. I like to see the weigh-ins because if everybody looks like death, I take that into account. So be sure to check out that video coming onto our YouTube page Friday afternoon to hopefully win some money and enjoy some fisticuffs for UFC 316.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. By the way, tomorrow, Thursday, if you're listening to this on Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, later tonight if you're listening on Thursday, we are going to be doing the NBA Finals Super Show along with our good friends over at Sideline Summit, Danny and Chris, along with Nate, our good friend from the Corner Booth Pod, is going to be joining us as well. And DJ, you'll be hosting. Be a lot of fun. I'm excited for that as well.
Excited to talk basketball with a lot of guys who know a whole lot of basketball, and we'll see how many of their picks and breakdowns are somewhat similar to ours. I'll be curious to see, but be sure to check that out and let us know if I'm stupid or if anyone else is stupid, or if we're all smart, whatever you think. We appreciate y'all so much for joining us, and we will see you all again next week.